let me turn to my topic for today's podcast, which is cops and robbers. And by robbers, I'm referring to the fraud network in Minnesota. By the way, I can give you a fair bet that it's not just Minnesota. These fraud networks are probably operating in other parts of the country as well. Why shouldn't they be? They're so easy to pull off. Now, by the way, when I say they're easy to pull off, a lot of people are under the impression that the Minnesota fraud network is a fraud on Minnesota, that they've been robbing the money of the people of Minnesota. This is, by the way, largely not true. And I say that because what's really going on is that you have a collaboration between the fraudsters, the Democratic establishment of Minnesota, and the state government of Minnesota to defraud the federal government. In other words, the money is the taxpayer money. It's your money. It's my money. The Minnesotans, the fraudsters, are robbing us. They're not just robbing the citizens of Minnesota. In fact, you can argue that the political establishment of the Democratic Party in Minnesota is enabling the theft. Now, some people may think, well, why don't we just focus on the fraudsters? They're the ones who are doing the fraud. Why don't we just focus on the Somalis? And of course, we have these Nick Shirley videos, very illuminating, where he goes from learning center to learning center. In one case, the name misspelled. In other cases, there's no learning going on. In fact, that nobody seems to be around, or they seem to be closed, or they won't open the door. And so all of this is now entered the public consciousness, I think, in very dramatic ways. And I see the government is actually responding to it. They've unleashed a kind of battalion of investigators who are on the ground, door to door, checking this stuff out. Now, first of all, it's amazing that the government hasn't been doing this all along. There hasn't been any effort to really break these fraud networks. And all of this is consistent with my thesis that the reason that they haven't done it, well, I don't know why the federal government hasn't done it. I know why they didn't do it under Biden, because they're part of the fraud. In other words, it's part of the Democratic Party strategy to enable fraud in this way across the country. Fraud is the name of their game. Fraud is partly how they get votes. And if you go, wait a minute, are you saying the Democrats are willing to break the law? Well, yeah, of course they are. Look at the way that they allow illegal immigration. They break the law. They allow law breaking. They, in a sense, invite the lawbreakers to come here because if there's political benefits to be had, they don't care about the law.
For full shows, live and on demand, it's Salem News Channel.